Hi, this is Janet Gallen, welcoming you to another episode of Love Letters Live, and this is going to be another wonderful episode. Our guest today is and does something really unique. This is Michael Gutenplan. And Michael, just go right to you so you could say hello.
Hello, everybody. Wow, thank you for having me.
And I think your name somehow means good plan, right? I mean, what is
You
it?
know what? It
Huh?
definitely does mean good plan,
Yeah,
and we try to have them most of the time. It's a German, Austrian, Polish
right.
hodgepodge of things. Uh, but it's interesting. My grandfather, mother's maiden name was Messing,
Uh-huh.
and there was a Soviet mentalist. We'll talk about mentalism in a little bit.
Oh,
Named
yeah, let's do it.
Wolf Messing, who was, I'm not supposed to say this part, Stalin's mentalist, believe it or not. He had a psychic advisor and his name
Uh-huh.
was Wolf Messing. And we believe through genealogy that that was my grandfather's like great uncle.
Let's
Uh,
let's get to you and to your heritage because I have so many questions. First of all, I understand that you are self-aware of that you're a third generation mentalist. And first of all, what is a mentalist and what's the difference? Because you're a magician and a mentalist, those are two different things, right?
they are very different things. So I'm going to correct one little
Repeat.
thing. I'm a third generation psychic. And the
Uh-huh.
difference is my father and my grandfather believe that they have psychic intuition. We don't talk to the dead or anything like that. But what we believe is that psychic powers, ESP is what most people would call it,
Right.
are not a power but a skill. And the
Oh,
more you
good,
use it, the
good,
better you
good.
get. It's a muscle. So if you trust your instincts, trust your intuition, the stronger it will get over time. And then it starts to take on the appearance of powers. But when you go back and you look at how you're getting it, it's something we all have. We just don't use it.
Oh, I'm so glad. Okay, can I digress just a
Yeah, make a
so
left turn.
I've got so, and I'll try to signal. I've got so many questions. So that ESP, I want to how you think people get to it because I have noticed, and people say to me all the time, "Oh, you've got such ESP." When the phone rings, I always know who it is, and I am aware that what I do is somehow I go through every conversation I've had over the last year and a half, and I quick delete the ones I don't think it is, and I end up with who I know is on the phone. I think people manage to sift through an enormous amount of information because that's what our brains can do. What do you say?
So uh, I'm assuming you're not looking at the caller ID when that happens.
Oh, no, this is way before. I'm so old that I was
So
almost.
that is, yeah, that is the basic level. When people say ESP is not real, psychic intuition is not real, I say, have you ever gotten a phone call and knew who it was before you said hello? And
And
every
you,
single person says yes.
yes, that's what I'm asking. Okay.
That is the beginning of your psychic powers, your psychic potential. Scientific America, the magazine,
uh,
did an released an article a few months ago. You can look it up. The link, you can add the link if you want. And basically, what it said is we have studied the brain and brain wavelengths and all that stuff.
right.
But scientists have only studied a single person at a time. They never studied two people communicating through
Oh,
brain wavelengths.
so
And when they did recently, they discovered we really do have connections. It's not some sort of made up psychic craziness,
what are
but
those
people,
connections that we have?
our brain wavelengths, when we connect to another person, are on the same wavelength.
So
I'm
you can.
not necessarily communicating with you,
Oh,
but what I am doing is thinking the same thing you are at the same time
yes.
because of an unknown connection.
Yes. Okay. Oh my goodness.
I think that we really do have psychic connections. I think, and this is just my opinion, the
Huh?
reason so many people roll their eyes and go, oh, give me a break, is because the term psychic has been taken over by the extreme factions, right? Anything fanatical, whether it's religion, beliefs, whatever, will be the thing that you pay attention to when kind of everything down the line makes sense. And I use religion as an example. No matter what religion you are, whether you're Buddhist, Zen, Taoist, whether you're Christian, Muslim, or Jewish, whatever it is, there's extreme versions of it that kind of get the spotlight and people go, ooh, crazy. And then there's the normal one where people live their normal lives and nobody kind of comments on those. You only pay attention to the extreme. So with psychic, you have people that are going, I can feel the energy and crystals are saving the world and let's all be in harmony.
On that crystal comment, what are the extreme versions of psychic or mentalism?
I think the extreme version is this is going to cure all your problems.
Oh, I see.
Hold on to this crystal. You don't need a doctor. You don't need a vaccine. You don't need anything. Cure this. I'm not denying that there is a psychosomatic or a real response to crystals. I have them behind me and I have them all over this room. But there's a for me, there's a line. And the line is when that's all you believe in, as opposed to, you know what, a little bit of this, a little bit of that will make it better. There are some people, I think, that take it a little too far. There are unknowns. There are example. You can always have an example to prove your point. I'm not looking for one thing. I'm looking for everything. And I believe it's a healthy mix. But I want to go back to your initial question, which is the difference between a magician, a mentalist, and a psychic. Three different things. Before I get into those three things, there is a fourth thing, which is medium. A medium is someone who communicates with the dead, not something I do. I have actually seen 2 ghosts in my life. That does not that does not mean I believe in ghosts. I do not necessarily describe. Yes.
Seeing a ghost means that you have seen the appearance, a physical appearance.
Yes, I have seen twice in my life.
2.
A spiritual being hovering over me, freaking me out, man. It didn't change my belief. I find it very hard to believe that if I want to communicate with this spiritual being, whether it's a relative or another person, that because I gave you, the medium, $20 or whatever it costs, that person will magically appear. I find that very hard to believe.
Yes.
I would not take away someone else's belief, and I am not challenging anybody else's strongly held beliefs.
Okay, well, go ahead more about those differences, because
so we don't
about the crystals and I'm wondering, is it possible also that if for people who have crystals and they kind of reach for a variety of things, they feel somehow encouraged to get better or and so they're more open to.
Yes, your mind is capable of much more than we are aware of. Okay, and that brings us back to where we're going to be. So a magician, the easiest way to describe what a magician does, and I think we all know, is the magician does something incredible. And you and I both agree that that magician, he or she, is doing a trick. There's nothing real. It's skill. It's some sort of skill, whether it's illusion skill and mirrors, whether it's sleight of hand. We agree that that person is not really floating. They have not really sawed them in half. There is a trick. I don't know how it's done. Bravo. Yes. He or she is great. Let's move on. The second level is mentalist. Right now, a lot of magicians are doing mentalism, mental magic. The idea that I'm doing a trick of the mind. Most of them will say it's a trick. It looks like mind reading. It looks like what a psychic does, but it's just a trick.
Can you give us an example of one? Can you?
Yeah, I can do it. I can do it right now. So I have a deck of cards.
Okay.
So I'm going to do a trick. This is not a mentalist thing. This is a trick. Think of a card, not the ace of spades. Think of a card. You got one in your mind?
Yes.
What's the card you're thinking of?
10 of hearts.
10 of hearts. That's not what I had. Now, I'm going to go through the cards. I was just kidding. I actually had the Queen of Hearts up. So the mentalist, the magician mentalist, will do a version of this. They will say, I want you to visualize this Queen of Hearts. Now, I'm not going to take it out of you, but I want you to visualize this Queen of Hearts. Close your eyes and psychically turn it into the 10 of hearts, the card you were thinking of. Now, it looks like a magic trick, but I presented it as mentalism. I want you to use your psychic powers. And if that had been the 10 of hearts that I had sticking up, I would have said psychic powers, and we would have moved on, and you would have went, wow, what a great trick, right? So that is the magic, mental magic. I'm
Okay.
doing something that looks like something psychic-y, but you and I still agree it's a trick.
Oh, but you're interacting with another person directly
Correct.
with the mental.
Yes.
I see. Okay. Okay.
The psychic entertainer, which is kind of the next level up from mentalist, very similar, and all psychic entertainers will say they are mentalists. They're not going to say anything different. What they do is they take out the magic element and they say, I am using a skill set, whether it's body language reading or intuition, but I am using a skill set to achieve a goal. So if I wanted you to think of a flower, and I'm saying, I want you to take it, hold it in your hand, smell it, and I want you to visualize that flower. And I go, you are thinking of a rose, a red rose. And you go, oh my God, how did you know that? Well, the mentalist is then going, okay, well, most people, and the way I described, and they give you a little explanation. The difference between mentalist, psychic entertainer, and magician or mental magician is that the mentalist or psychic entertainer gives you a reason for the truth within the lie. So they're still doing an act. They are still using skill and technique, but they are allowing you to question, maybe there is a little more truth to it than it's just a trick. So what I mean by that is, if I ask you to think of a flower and you thought of a red rose, you sit there and you go, well, that's amazing. And I go, well, as the mentalist, let me explain how that worked. I subtly held it up to my hand and I smelled it, which allowed your mind to visualize me holding a long stem. Well, that limited it, but I smelt it, which made your mind go, it has to be a rose. And what color rose are you going to get? It's a red rose, because I snapped my finger and I said, think of something really quick. And the quick color happens to be red, a flash. So the mentalist gives you process that allows you to believe that it's real. So there is a trick,
well,
but the trick is based in reality.
But it seems like you did more than what you just said, that you gave a definite trail to follow.
Yes. So I allow you to believe it. And there are tricks and there are things in mentalism that are, if a magician does it, it's a magic trick. And if a mentalist does it, it leaves a little bit. The next level is the psychic. And the psychic wants you to believe that it's real. Now, there are two types of psychics. There's the psychic that goes, I'm intuitive, I'm going to feel your energy. And we're going to use things like cold reading, and I'm going to use your body language, and I'm going to use psychological principles. And that's the psychic entertainer aspect, which is, I am a little out there. I am using kind of things that you have to believe in to make it work.
So what is the goal of a psychic?
What's that?
What's the goal of a psychic, actually?
So you have the psychic entertainer, which is what I do. I'm doing a show and I'm using these things. And the goal of a psychic is to make you feel better than when you came in. Oh, that's the goal of a psychic. Okay. Now, if you go into a psychic reading, right? I'm going to pay you. You're going to use the tarot cards or the crystal ball or what, I have my crystal ball here. I'm going to look at my crystal. Oh, I see these things. Now, a reading is different. And a good psychic, again, will make you feel better than when you came out. There are unscrupulous people. There are people who are going to take advantage of you and say, oh boy, you are cursed. You need to come back in 2 weeks with $1 million. And anytime someone wants a follow-up psychic reading from the psychic side to you, run.
Thank you.
Run. That's if you choose to come back, because for some people it's a form of therapy, if you choose to keep going, that's a different story. But if the psychic says to you, oh, I feel evil spirit, no. It's a one and done thing. You can choose to go back, but it should never harm. And I think the reason psychics get a bad name, I think the reason so many magicians have this vendetta against anything psychic is because there have been unscrupulous people. But if we're using it with the goal of making you feel better when you leave, whether you're on my stage and you walk out of my show going, wow, I'm more powerful than I knew I was. He or she who walks out of my theater goes, my psychic potential has been unlocked. I feel great. Winner. If you walk out of my theater and go, I'm now going to go to a psychic and solve all my problems, I may have failed. I do think that there are moments in your life where going to a person, if you choose not to go to therapy, a psychic can cover that basis, but it should never harm. It should never make you feel like you're out of options.
When did you first know that you had these skills, powers, abilities? Did
Great
you know,
question.
you say third generation, that means your
Third
father,
generation.
grandfather?
Father and grandfather. I grew up in a environment being through the mail. I grew up in an environment being told to.
In your
Yeah.
case, the male, but it could go anyway.
Oh, it's usually female. It's usually women's intuition. Women tend to have a much stronger sense of intuition, of instinct.
Okay,
So
and your own.
we don't believe that it is a power. We believe it's a skill.
Okay.
And the skill is trusting yourself. Intuition, instinct, they're real things. We all have them. You can be the biggest skeptic in the world and accept that we have intuition and instinct. And the only thing we believe is the more you listen to it and the more you work on it, the stronger it becomes.
When did you get aware of yours?
So I grew up
life, and
I grew up in an environment where I was told to trust yourself, trust your instincts, go with your gut. I kind of ignored it because it's a weird thing Dad and Grandpa say.
You knew them both, right?
Yes. They're still alive. I saw my grandfather. He lives in New York last week. He's 95. He'll be 96 in about 2 weeks. And he is the biggest believer in the world. He believes in UFOs and psychic powers. And I mean, he's a real fun person to have dinner with.
I bet.
But when I think I was 18, 19. I have to do the math. I had something called viral myocarditis. The heart basically swells up, and to cure it, if you're lucky enough to get out of it, they put you in a drug-induced coma for 2 weeks.
How did you know you had that?
I had 106-degree fever and I couldn't breathe.
Oh, geez.
So I went to the hospital. They put me in the ICU. They incubated me for 2 weeks, and I had some interesting experiences. I wouldn't call them outer body experiences, but I had some interesting experiences during that, and I came out of it with a sense of, I would call it spiritualism. I would call it a belief in the universe. I'm not a God person. I'm not a religious person, but I came out of that when a doctor says to you, there is no reason you are alive. We told your mother to make funeral arrangements. Oh, I'm very glad she got a second opinion on that one. I'm very thankful. But she got in the bed, she held me, she looked at the doctors, and she goes, he's not done yet. I came out of that. I had no heart damage. I had nothing wrong. They reset the body. And the doctor says, you are what we call in the medical profession, a miracle. Uh-huh. I believed in that moment in the universe. So more than the universe.
No, you believe in the what of the universe?
The universe. I believe not in a spiritual being, but in spiritual. Okay. I believe that there is more to us than there is to us. I believe that the universe puts things in front of you. So when I came out of that, I started allowing the universe to give me signs and follow them. By following those signs, by following that energy, that instinct, that intuition, my psychic intuition grew and my psychic potential became unlocked.
I'm sorry. I know I'm such a busybody for.
No, ask away. This is what this is about.
So you come out of this, you're feeling fine. The doctor says you are fine. But at what point? I mean, there must have been some little time lapse between the doctor saying you're fine and then you had your first.
No, I was in that. I will tell you exactly when it happened. I get moved from the ICU, which has no windows. Uh-huh. This is Long Island, North Shore Medical Center in Long Island. I get moved to the cardiac floor out of all things, because I had all these monitors on me, and I get put in a regular room with a window. I remember looking out the window and feeling very emotional. There was a dumpster with like a tree growing next to it, and I went, "Oh, so beautiful." And then I didn't know what had happened to me. I just knew that I had been out for 2 weeks. They wouldn't tell me anything. I went up to go to the bathroom at night, and what happens is when you go to the bathroom, your blood pressure drops a little bit. So every night. Uh-huh. I had so low blood pressure that I started to pass out, but I caught myself and I saw a bright light. And I thought to myself, oh my goodness, this is how I'm going to die, with my pants around my ankles, going to the bathroom in the middle of the night. This is not a good look for anyone. So I get back to the bed and I kind of fall on the bed. And I wake up I went to bed. I wake up the next morning. The doctor came in and I said, I saw the light last night. And he goes, oh, were you going to the bathroom? I said, yeah. He goes, when you have your blood pressure is this low, your blood moves from extremities, and one of the first places it goes to is the eyes, and that's why when we die, we actually see the light. And people who survive that say, I saw the light. And I said, wow, there's a medical reason for it, but it didn't take away the emotional element. That moment, the day I got back to, really, I woke up, they moved me down to the room and I saw that light. I kind of thought, okay, there's something going on here. There's got to be a reason for this. And as soon as I accepted, I don't know the reason, but there is a reason. My life changed. I started to really access those psychic potentials, those moments of power, of belief. And it's not, it's a muscle, and it's never going to be fully developed. Nothing's perfect.
When that happened, you let your father know that I'm in the club officially, or what? I mean, how did you?
I had, well, it's a little different. I'm a little more spiritual than they are because of that experience. I had always been interested in mind reading. And when I got into magic, my grandfather does magic also. I was advised by a professional magician, don't do the mind reading just yet. You're a little too young. It doesn't have the gravitas that someone with life experience has. So I pushed it away. I said, I really want to do this. And everybody kept saying, don't do it. Don't do it. And I would throw it into my shows, and it would be the thing people talked about. I had a New York Times review right there where it says he reads minds. That's his most amazing thing. But I kind of played it down. And then in Los Angeles, I was on a walk and I got on the phone with my grandfather and I said, Poppy, what should I be doing? I'm doing magic shows. And he said, you need to do the psychic show. Now is the time. It's just something, and something told him to tell me, do it. And it was the right moment, and the business exploded, and I kind of became the go-to mind reader. So I'm not the go-to magician. I'm the go-to psychic entertainer.
So let's talk about a couple of your clients. Yeah. And then let's talk about your show, because you've got one coming up at the Magic Castle on November 8th, right?
So this is interesting. This is not a Magic Castle show. I am investing in myself. I have to go with my intuition and my instinct. I need to make a video that is as good as I am, promotional. And what I realized is, why not do it in the greatest place for magic in the world? So I'm renting during the day, the big theater at the Magic Castle, the Palace. I am bringing in a whole film crew. And I realized something interesting. I realized my clients are the top of the top 1%. They're kings and queens, literally kings and queens, oligarchs, CEOs, and Hollywood celebrities. And I realized I could not afford to be in my own audience. And that's not right. I want everybody to experience this incredibleness. I want everybody to unlock their psychic potential. So I am making this film. I am recording my full show, and I am inviting anybody in the LA area who wants to come for this show so that they can experience it. And then I can send out this video and get booked at theaters and clubs.
Okay, so my question is, if we want to see you at this show at the Magic Castle, never mind who's arranging it, sponsoring, it doesn't make it less valuable because you're renting the space,
No.
So do they call the Magic Castle and make
the easiest, so it's not a night at the Magic Castle, it's a daytime show.
Right.
Daytime show. And the easiest way to do it is to go to my website, www.mentalist.show. And there's a contact form on the bottom, and send me a message that says, I want to attend your show. Send me the information. You can also go on my Instagram. It's Amazing Mentalist is the what do they call it? The profile name. If you type in Amazing Men, I pop up first.
Oh, good.
So all you have to do is send me a private message on any social media form. And I want to share this. I want people to have extraordinary experiences in a way, not where you watch it and then you leave, but in a way that you think about it for the rest of your life. And ultimately the way to do that is to involve them and to say, I'm the conduit. I'm the person up here that knows the format and how we're doing it, but you are the one that's doing it. You are the one that is making it happen. And I love that. I absolutely love that.
Okay, I have a question. For everything you said, I've got like 12 questions. I'm going to have to control myself. But, I am largely about the power and the skill involved that leads to the power of letters, of love letters, of letters of appreciation and gratitude. Let me ask you, were you ever a letter writer, or are you just too young for that?
Not only am I a letter writer, I have a whole stack of cards that I send to people.
Oh, good.
Yeah, I believe in, there's something special about getting an envelope in the mail with your handwriting.
And handwriting is king. And by the way, people who do handwriting analysis, there's a whole other.
That is an incredible skill set. And again, skill set. People think it's psychic. All of these things you can learn. Buy books, palm reading, crystal reading, tower reading.
But handwriting, I mean, you can be so accurate in what you could do. But if you were to, there's so much to say. I wish you lived next door. I'd be knocking on you. So I do, yes.
You can knock anytime you want.
Thank you, honey. Okay, so my question is, if you were to write a love letter right now, and I can think of several that you could write, not my business, who would you write one to right now? I mean, I know your grandfather and father have they ever gotten a letter from you?
I send my grandfather thank you letters.
Count?
Yeah, I sent him something a couple of weeks ago through a mutual connection we had when I was in Japan. I would send a letter. I had a teacher in college, he was an acting teacher. His name's Tony McKay, and he saw me doing magic, and he looked at me and he goes, "What is this?" He had a deep, "What is this?" And I said, "Oh, it's my magic." And he goes, "Yeah, I'm not giving you a pass anymore. You're going to come to class. You can do this, and you're going to act, and you have more than you're putting out there." Because he saw me believing in myself. He saw me having power.
But he also apparently saw you holding back a little.
Yes, in class, holding back because of fear or whatever. And I had always remembered his influence and his impact. And I was so happy. I did a show in Pittsburgh last year, and I sent him a note and I said, "I would love for you to be my guest." And him and his wife, Cindy, came, and it was so incredible to have them there. And I said, no, I really think you may be one of the top two influences in my success. The other one is my high school theater teacher. She's passed, Irene McDonald, who just gave me love, who just gave me.
Does she have children?
She does not. Yes, she has a child. Yeah. One passed away. One lives in New York.
And nice for that child to get a letter. Okay, well, go ahead.
And they know how much she meant to me.
Yeah.
So I do believe in the power. You call it writing letters. I believe in the power of saying thank you.
Yes.
And I think it's really important, I think it's really important how rare it is for someone to call you up, to send you an email, whatever, and say, "Thank you for the impact you made on my life." I try to do that. I do it through letters, I do it through emails, and I do it through phone calls.
Well, I was going to say, you can't reread a phone call. Yeah. But and as far as email, I mean, I'm addicted to it all. But technology changes very quickly, and the email you sent today could be,
it's gone. It's as ephemeral as a phone call.
Right, and a letter people can reread every time they feel a little. They need some. I'm so glad you did this with me.
Yeah. I think I am going to write a letter right now. I think as soon as we're done, we're going to write a love letter to my partner, Miguel, because it's very rare in our lives that we meet someone who challenges us to become the best version of ourselves.
Oh, good. Yes. Yes.
And it's very hard to say to someone, "This is not a fault, but this is something you should be aware of. And if you choose to change, you will live an easier life." And I have found someone who puts their peace of mind at risk to say, "Hey, you may not be aware you're doing this, you can continue your life, but if you choose to change this, it will make everyone, including your life, a little easier, because that can backfire. Someone can say, this is who I am, leave me alone.
Right.
So to find someone in your life who says, I want you to be the best version of you, not my best version of you, but your best version of you.
So
I'm going to write a letter as soon as we're done with this.
You're touching on something so interesting, because those kind of letters, that's a way of saying, you can do better. I know you can, because I know who you are. It's not a criticism, it's an encouragement. And that's
not a criticism, an encouragement.
Yes. You know? Thank you for all the
and that's very rare.
I know. Well, maybe, we could all do something to make it less rare. So I want to thank you for this. And I want to thank you for not telling me how they saw the lady in hand. Because
lips are sealed.
It is the most terrifying thing I've ever seen. And I can't imagine, I think that's one of the biggest mysteries. Okay. Anyone can pull a rabbit out of a hat, but sawing a lady in half.
Well, there's a great book called Sawing a Lady in Half by a guy named Mike Caveney. He just wrote it. It's the 100-year history. It's the 100th anniversary. Oh. And he wrote an incredible book. It's really incredible about the history. It was the greatest sensation of the world when it was made. And when you see it.
It's a history of that act or magic?
That specific act. The sawing a Lady in Half. It's the greatest story of a sensation. There's backstabbing, there's stealing, there's different versions of it.
Read that.
By Mike Caveney.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Really okay. So again, thank you. I love talking to you. Because the mystery, mysteries in life are so open space where anything can happen. It's kind of a blessing. So if there's anything you ever want to come back and talk about on Love Letters Live, will you let me know?
I will definitely let you know. I got a pile of things to talk about.
Good. Let's talk about and maybe talk about something else. Oh, this is great. Thank you. I wish you well.
Thank you. And just a reminder for anybody who wants to come to the show or find out more, my website is www.mentalist.show, not .com, .show, or you can go on any of the social medias, and my handle on all of them is Amazing Mentalist.
Amazing Mentalist. Okay, I'll make a note of this and we'll put it. Thank you. I'm going to
thank you so much.
I hope we get to talk again someday.
Have an amazing day, Janet.
Thank you. You too.